On Daf Chafez and Aleph. We're going to start from Daf. We're going to start on the bottom of Daf Chaf Aleph and base. So we're now trains in Hoislim Bekihuna Beishis Ish. How do you know that an Anusa, even though she's an Anusa, she's also to her husband the kain? So Gemara brings a Kalvachon Yam Shratzim Akal. Also behenes so Inus Kiratzim the Soita Chamudal Koshke Madach Shratzim, which are Kal the carbonated defines as being that there's no Chiv Misa for Shratzim, that it doesn't matter, right? A person's Tamil Shratzim is not, there's no possibility of having a Chiv Misa. Yet it doesn't matter if Yonis or Ratzin touch him become Tame. So Soita Chamudal Koshke certainly a site which is Cham obviously brings a day Misa, Zicha. There's not going to be difference between Einus and Ratzin, and in both cases should be also to her husband if her husband is a kohen. Tan Rabbi Yaakov to come Rabbi Yonis on Vat Kisotis Tachas Ishev Chinim Eis Prat La'Einsin that excludes Einsin. Machma, where do you see the Malay Matach Zishech L'Ratzin? So where do you see from the pasuk that excludes L'Ratzin? So the Gemara says, because Amalei says to Matach Ishech L'Ratzin, the same time with your husband it's L'Ratzin, Avkan L'Ratzin also by the boil, right? The illicit relationship has to be L'Ratzin. Now the Gemara dashens v'hila nisbasa, right? She was not grabbed. No, she wasn't raped. Hanisbasa, then muteris. If she was raped, it was against her will. But you could have a case. The Gemara points out where she was grabbed, and she was raped. But first she was okay with it. Then the sofa b'hainis. There's someone who could be not tfusa, and somehow she's still mutter to her husband. So started out ba'inus, but it ended up being biratzin. In that case, she's still mutter to her husband. In Kadoitz, there was a story. Asas legabe, there was a woman. Asas legabe, Rabbi Yochanan, she came to Rabbi Yochanan. Normally, she says to him, "Nenesti, I was raped. Amalov loy arvloch basayif wasn't loy arvloch basayif wasn't good for you at the end. Amalov she said to me, "It will met by bedvashvit nen on the first baby Yom Kippurim shema ein raloy, but it was saif ein arvloy." Kiblan accepted this explanation. So she said to him, it's similar to Yom Kippur, right? A person takes his finger, dips it into honey, puts it in his mouth. So now it's Yom Kippur. That's bad for him, right? That's a chiyuv, charis, but it's sweet. So in other words, the overall concept is that it's bad. The Kiblan accepted this explanation. And that comes to be marba. That's we're going with the carbonated girsa v'chinitmes is the rabbis eishes hasara is like the Mishnah said. Eishes hasara is also going to be a saita. V'yitenish b'hoch eshechav the rabbi that's lamait es hasar that's lamait es hakotten umi she'ena ish that excludes a cotton who says ish. So you have to be an ish. So that excludes a cotton that excludes ena ish. Now there's another one. So the Mishnah ve'elu shebezin mekana lahem. These are the ones that Bezdin can step in and do a kinoi in place of the husband. Mishnah is charish ba'ilon ishat, so the husband is not with it anymore mentally. Or so he's in jail, and Bezdin sees the wife going around and not being noyig correctly, so they can be kind of her. Not to give it a drink. The person with ksavas knows they can never. She can't be given to drink based on the kina that Bezdin did, but she couldn't be. She could lose her ksuba. Rabbi Yosef, no, she gets a bal and no, it could even be lashkoisa. When the husband goes out of jail, he can be mashker her based on the kina of the bezin. Elish bezin kalahem. So the Gemara b'nei Yisrael veikanas. You see, b'nei Yisrael. B'nei Yisrael means all of b'nei Yisrael. In other words, representatives of b'nei Yisrael, meaning a bezin. V'yashkeno. So why can't he give it to drink? That the Gemara says that's because there's a kosevi. Behavior ish is ishto yelakoyin. It's got to be the ish bringing ishto, not the bezin. So if that's the case, lo yikanala. So why are they doing a kinut? The kinus ishta twice. I feel a mitzvah ishta, even if he has some kind of representation here as a husband. Bias psulnaim shehi poiseles. How do we know that bias psulin will passel? And we're going to talk about that in a minute. How do we know it passels the woman? Manake, what are we talking about? Imbashis ish chamurahi. In other words, if we're talking about an ish, that's if talking about an ish, then chamuri im me amona kohen gadol shani psula kahuna. Kahuna is also kain is different. They're more machmer. So we can't, in other words, we can't learn that stam bias psulim paiselos from either ashes ish, which is chomer, right? And we can't learn it out of kohen, which will also, generally speaking, more machmer by kohen. Like we find that a basish a bas kohen, right? Kesir zar, she can't eat kosher anymore. She loses right to kosher. So you see, there's that were machmer by both ashes ish, like we said, and and uh, and a kohen. So now. So manan kem im beishes ish chamuri im me'almon lekoin gadol shanim sulukun. We said right that right vehevi ish es ishtoi right faksi vehevi ish es ishtoi. So atzad hashav sheben es shazare pasol biase pasel. So shazar ves shein zar pasol ein biase paiselas. So what's the common denominator? So we can go with the common denominator. The common denominator is that between the two of them, from Ashes Ish and Almana, that somebody whose B will passels them too. And Ve'eluhain, who passels, Ben Teshashon Yemechad, someone's 9 years in a day, Rais Royal Abia, Ger Amoni Meavi, Adami Mitzvi, Evet Mamzer, Chol Nasin, Kusi, Begoy, Shabal Bas Koyin, Abbas Levi, Abbas Yisrael, Paselas, Min Hakuna. They passel in all these cases. They will passel either the Bas Kohen will not be able to eat truma anymore, and the Levian Israelis will not be able to marry a Kohen. Rabbi Yosef says kol shazare pasol biyaser pasels. He says a little bit differently. He says no, whoever's offspring will pasol is pasol biyaser pasels. Kol she'en zare pasol, but if it's zare, kol she'en zare pasol, but if zare is not pasol, ein biyaser pasels. His bia will not pasol. So in other words, what would this come to include? This comes to include, let's say, it would come to exclude. I'm sorry, a mitzri sheni. A mitzri sheni. We know what mitzrim are also up to dar right? Darshay knows Dar Shlishi is already mutter. So according to Rabbi Yossi, his zera would be kosher, so therefore he will not pass. Rabbi Shimon Lula kosher at mutter bebitoi at mutter bal manasai. V'chol at mutter bebitoi ein at mutter bal manasai. Anybody who you're mutter to marry his daughter, you can marry his almana. But if you're not mutter to marry his daughter, you cannot marry his almana. And the difference between Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is a ger, right? Amoni me'avi, right? Because according to Reb Shimon Gamliel, his daughter's mutter, so he will, right? So then, right? And so then the mutter. But according to Reb Yosef Gamliel, that since Miktazar, like carbonated puts it, Miktazari is also right? Okay, his beta is mutter, but his son is also. So therefore, that still will be kol shazari pasul. So his bia would pasul, but according to Reb Shimon Gamliel, Geramani Mavi would not, since his daughter's mother. Now we read the difference between them. Hanulach per krus v'shmeis yobim, hanulach per krus v'shmeis yobim, hanulach per krus v'shmeis yobim bli neder. Hanulach neder gebek shim shamayim boitkanai sa, kachamayim boitkanai sa. The same way the waters will check the woman, they'll check also the boil. Shneimon says vo twice. Shem she asur lebao, kach asur leboil. Shneimon says nitma de Rebbe Kiva. I'm going to be sure kach hoidosh b'schai ben a katza. Way like you Rebbe Kiva said, that's the way b'schai ben a katza used to darshan. Rabbi, oim shnei pa'amim hamurim b'parashim nitma echel ba'al ve'echad lebayil. That one is referring to the Baal and one is referring to the boil. So he darshans the words. And we'll see the Gemara. The question is whether you use the vav or the fact that the word was repeated twice. So what is their difference? I mean, it's very subtle, but there is difference. Like the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva. Mandamar Ubo Rabbi Shmuel. So there's a machlokes in general of Dibra Torah Kloshim B'nei Adam. Rabbi Kiva holds no, and therefore if a word is repeated twice, so we darshan it. But a Rabbi Shmuel holds no, that's Dibra Torah Kloshim B'nei Adam, and therefore he has to darshan the extra vav because the fact that the word is written twice doesn't mean anything to him. Because Dibra Torah Kloshim B'nei Adam. Anantani nitma is tiny again vinimo madama nitma again Rabbi Akiva madama vinimo dashni davo, that's Rabbi Shmuel. Tani boy uva. So boy, in other words, it will check him, and vo checks her. Okay, that's what we said in the Mishnah. Kshem shamayim boitin noisai kach boitin noisai. V'ksiv Fake the modern stuff. Ksiv K. Where do you see Tanu Ba Yuva? Where does it say that in the pasuk? So Gemara says K Reb Ami b'Shem Reb Yochanan Gern Lidrush Mitchilas v'Seifa. We can perform some surgery on the words, and we can dash Mitchilas v'Seifa, like the Kabbalah points out. And as we're taking in the pasuk, it says Uva Uva. It says V'Hishkas Isha Es Mea Marim Arim Uva Uva. So what we do is we take the vav, the first vav of uva'u, and we move it into the middle of the word. So you now have uvai with an extra aleph, which the Covenant says is not a big deal. You have, I find many words written that way, and you have the word va, which is standalone, right? So you take the vav, the last vav of uva'u, and you connect it to the va, right? So now you have right? You have boy and va. Okay, so you see there checks. The word will check her and checks him too. Notice you can even stick a letter in the middle of the word, like we do by uvo. We create the word voy by sticking the vav between the vase and the aleph. V'yatzakto Hashem, and I think we're brings out another drasha that we have similarly, like of a similar kind of drasha. V'yatzakto Hashem, v'yatzakto Shemen mincha. Right, it says in the pasuk. It says in the pasuk, pasuk says pitim v'yitzakto le'Hashem mincha hi. So it says v'yitzakto le'Hashem v'yitzakto shemen mincha. So the Gemara takes out the word aleha. Okay, l'rabbis kol menachos leitzika. Okay, hama'arim. So now we're going to dash negematria. Alav tanchuma minayin hama'arim minayin. So minyan hama'orim, the amount of the word ma'orim, what's the gematria? Keneg masayim abom shmoyne evarim shesh bo, or keneg masayim abom shmoyne evarim shesh boy. So minyan ma'orim is 496, and that corresponds to the 248 evarim that she has and 248 evarim that the boy has. And this is talking what we learned in the Mishnah. Kshem shamayim bait kenoisa, kachamayim bait kenoisai. And now we said also shame, and we'll end off in a few lines, and this sugya carries on for a little bit. Into Chav Gimel, we'll just start it out a little bit. Kshem shehi asur l'val, kach yasur l'bayil. Kshem shehi asur l'achiv shel bal, kach yasur l'achiv shel bal. Like we saw in the beginning of the Masechta, same way she's asa to the Baal, she's asa to her bayil, and the same way she's asa to the achiv shel bal. So we had this beginning of the Masechta that she's also to the Achiv Shabbat because the only reason that she, right, by Yibum, we're referring to Yibum over here, the only reason he do Yibum is because of the husband, but she was also to the husband. So therefore, she's also to the brother of the husband for Yibum. Kachisu also the Achiv Shabbat, the Achiv of the Bayil, even though he did nothing wrong over here and it's not any of Yibum, but he's still also to her too. Kishem Shamaydin Bait Kenoisa, Al Kol Bio Bio, Shehimi Kabels, Es Bail Acha Bayil. At the same time, again, the man is not allowed to sleep with his wife once she was a Saita, right? She was Nistra with this guy. So every time, if there was relations after the incident happened, so that's every single time there's a biyah, there's an Avera, and that Avera extends not only to the woman, it also goes to the boil, and the rest we'll see on Daf Chaf Gimel.